I'm going to add 7.04, which will be the resolution regarding the Elm Grove Road real estate sale. With that, all those in favor of the agenda as amended? Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on to our student leaders' comments. How about my student leaders from Athena Middle School? Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to take a moment to highlight the many amazing things at our school. I am Lanaya Reed Thomas, and I am in 8th grade.
I am Katherine Peter, and I am in 6th grade.
I'm Lucy Coffey, and I'm in 7th grade.
Can you guys do me a favor when you speak? Step up to the microphone. Some of us are old and can't hear so well.
This year, students in Athena Middle School are learning more about the 7 habits through the Leader in Me program. Habit 1 is learning about being proactive. In 6th grade, we discussed long-term benefits of a good education and why taking initiative is important. Grade 7 looked at our circle of control along with paying attention to proactive language versus reactive language. In grade 8, we explored the impact of proactive language and reactive language and the impact it has on conversation. 8th graders also learned the concept of freedom to choose and how this can help us be leaders.
On October 14th in the evening, Athena Middle School families celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month. We had food, games, and music. Families had a chance to get together and celebrate Hispanic heritage culture. On the morning announcements and in our display cases, we also recognized and celebrated famous Hispanic Americans through the month of September and into October, and the many contributions people made to our world. The culminating event was our Hispanic Heritage Celebration. This was an amazing event that was well attended on a Friday evening and a great way to bring Athena Middle School families together.
Athena Middle School has many student athletes participate in fall sports. These sports included cross country, girls volleyball, boys and girls soccer, football, cheerleading, and tennis. Students were proud to wear the uniforms to school, and they were all great representatives of our school and the Greece community. Student athletes have to be good role models for their peers by making good choices and meeting academic standards. All students found time to balance their athletics and academics, along with many other activities and responsibilities they have each week.
Last Friday, we had a PTSA-sponsored fall fun night for students and parents. There, we were gym games, dancing, a photo booth, and plenty of pizza and drinks, even ice cream to end the night. This was another great way for students and parents to gather and have some fun at night in a safe environment here at school. Coming up, student government is planning a grade-level nights at Horizon Fun Effects and themed Spirit Weeks. Grade levels can earn Spirit Cup points for the school year based on the number of students participating in these events and activities. Another field trip planned is to the RIT STEP program. RIT STEP is taking 7th and 8th grade students to the annual Maker Faire of Rochester on Friday, November 18th. The Maker Faire is a hands-on activity engaging Desmos, wonder, and excitement, centered around STEAM and every aspect of the maker movement.
In addition, student government is organizing a holiday food drive for Thanksgiving and in planning for Toys for Tots for the upcoming holidays. Students in grades 6th through 8th are also busy preparing for our winter concerts that include band, chorus, and orchestra. As you can see, Athena Middle School is working hard to engage students and families. We have lots to celebrate. Thank you again for allowing us an opportunity to share the many wonderful things happening at Athena Middle School.
Thank you guys for coming. And Athena, hi, you guys are up. Welcome, ladies. I think they need some technical assistance, Mrs. Flagler.
They're asking me. There we go. Oh, Joe's doing it. All set. Okay. Thank you. So when you want to skip the slides, you just can push that down button. You guys have to do it on your own.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Groutman, and members of her cabinet. My name is Maya Williams, and I am a senior at Athena High School. During my time at Athena, I have participated in Student Council, the Student Equity Club, and helped to co-found the Black Student Union of Athena. I've been recognized by the Urban League of Rochester as a Black Scholar and will be graduating with honors this spring. After high school, I will be attending college at a historically Black institution. Currently, I am applying to Norfolk State University, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, as well as Morgan State to pursue a career in forensic science and technology.
All right, good evening. My name is Jada Williams. I am also a senior at Athena High School. During my time at Athena, I've been a member of Student Council. I was a co-founder of Black Student Union. I've been a member of the track team, and I was inducted into National Honor Society last spring. Additionally, I've been recognized by the Urban League of Rochester as a Black Scholar and will be graduating with valedictory honors next June. Outside of school, I work at Foot Locker, and next year I will be attending college. My top choice is Norfolk State University to study architectural engineering.
Good evening. My name is Shade Mewborn, and I'm also a senior at Athena High School. During my time as a Trojan at the building level, I have been a member of the Trojan Tribune, our school newspaper, Yearbook, the School Improvement Team, Guardians of Equity, the Future Educators Club, Club Connect, Student Council, and last spring I was inducted into the National Honor Society. At the district level, I participated in Superintendent Groutman's Student Leadership Council and continue to serve as a student representative on the Greece Central School District Code of Conduct Committee. Outside of school, I work at Target, and I'm a youth ministry member at Glory House International. This spring, I'll be graduating with valedictory honors and have applied to Spelman College, Howard University, and Morgan State to pursue a career in the field of education, to offer mental health support, and eventually pursue a position in educational leadership to continue the work around educational excellence and equity for all students. There are lots of exciting things happening at Athena, and we are delighted to share a few with you guys tonight. Here we go. We got that out. We got it out. Thank you. Okay. To start off, the school improvement team has identified 3 priority areas for the 2022 to 2023 school year. First, we strive to foster high expectations and rigorous instruction into every classroom. Second, we continue to expand and refine our intervention systems to ensure that all students accelerate and sustain their academic growth. And lastly, we provide explicit social and emotional learning opportunities for all students. In an effort to meet these goals, Athena High School staff are engaged in professional learning series rooted in the New York State Department of Education's Culturally Responsive Sustaining Framework and use the book Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. Additionally, all students and faculty participate in weekly SEL classes every Friday using a new program, Character Strong, as a resource to ignite learning and build relationships. There you go.
The Athena Trojan student athletes just wrapped up the fall season with some impressive finishes. Our girls soccer team finished their sectional run as semifinalists, led by Section 5 standout Rihanna Hudson. The girls varsity cheerleading team finished their season on a high note with an outstanding performance last weekend during the Section 5 championship, and our boys varsity football team, led by Coach Mike Huston, lost a heartbreaker in sectional playoffs last weekend, but they had a very strong season. Congratulations to all fall student athletes.
All right. Athena's JROTC program, led by Mr. Larry Friesa, Sergeant Major Dean Welch, and First Sergeant Xavier Whitehead, oops, I meant to click the slide, is a source of community pride. This fall, the JROTC cadets have been busy. On October 1st, during homecoming, the JROTC Color Guard presented the national colors while performing during the national anthem. Additionally, 10th grade Ethan Garcia led his squad in drill at the Great Lakes competition in Buffalo on October 22nd. This coming Saturday, November 5th, cadets will be representing the Athena JROTC during the Veterans of Foreign Wars annual dinner in Fairport. Lastly, on November 9th, cadets will be collaborating with Athena High School Music Department during the Veteran Tribute Concert, which will showcase the JROTC Color Guard for the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem at the onset of the performance. Let me also take this moment to thank veteran and board member Mr. William Maloney. Woo woo. Yeah, okay. For your service, we wish you all a happy Veterans Day.
We are also thrilled to celebrate the second consecutive undefeated season for the Greece Central School District Marching Band. This past weekend at the state championship, the marching band finished with an impressive second-place title. Congratulations to the members of the marching band, led by Nick Coraza and Mr. Christian Drew, including Dr. Trawick's children, Amir and Bella Johnson. Additionally, the Athena High School Music Theater Department is also thrilled to announce and would also like to invite the Greece community to attend Athena's presentation of Anastasia this coming February. Save the date, and we hope to see you there.
All right. As Athena High School works to cultivate a welcoming and affirming environment, we continue to expand extracurricular clubs and opportunities and events. In other words, sometimes we just want to have fun. For the first time in many years, many students wanted a traditional homecoming, and Athena High School Student Council listened. Last month, Trojan participation in Spirit Week was outstanding, ending with our first homecoming dance since before COVID that included over 375 students. It was huge. As a result, we are already planning the next Spirit Week and winter dance. More details come to follow.
Lastly, on behalf of the Athena community, we would like to extend our gratitude for the Board of Education and its ongoing support for our student, faculty, and families. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. And we're starting something new tonight. We're going to do a picture with all the student leaders and the Board of Education and Superintendent in front here. So if you guys don't mind coming up, and we're going to do a picture. Mr. Fleming, can you jump on this for me? Thank you, sir.
Do we have to confront you?
Yep, everybody. Let's go. Starting in front. Right in front here. We're going to come around. You're welcome. Are we going to be all good? Or no? Squeeze a little bit. That's how we like each other. That's it. Goalie pose. Thank you. Thank you guys very much. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. All right. BOCES 2 Superintendent, Joanne Antonacci, and our board, BOCES Board Vice President, former Greece Board Member, Chuck Phillips. Welcome this evening.
Thank you once again for having us. This is a tough act to follow, though. I'm going to tell you, the students. Mrs. Groutman, I told Jada to check with you on the Nautilus Scholarship that's going to be coming up for architects in construction. So she'll hear, okay? All right, so. A couple of things here briefly in terms of some of the partnerships we have going. First of all, Chuck and I, along with our BOCES board, would like to thank you for the 813 self-contained special education preschool programs, classrooms at Autumn Lane, and also the 612 autism spectrum disorders classroom at Arcadia High School. Your staff are welcoming, they're embracing our families and our students, and we can't say thank you enough. It really means an awful lot to us. In addition to that, is every summer you have provided Athena for the regional summer school program. Our summer school program, regional summer school program is huge, and so we need a very large building to do it in, and each year Greece steps up to help us with that, so thank you. In terms of curriculum instruction and professional development, We are providing instructional support to Greece in the areas of annual professional performance review, next generation learning standards implementation, and instructional coaching for special education. And your assistant superintendents and directors are very much in a partnership with us to provide those things, so we thank you. This past summer here at Greece, you had 855 students that were involved in 1,223 classes. We offered new classes, remedial, review, test, and test-only classes. In Career Tech at Wamoco, we are hosting our annual tour day on Friday, December 9th. Our classes will not be in session on that day, as we will be hosting current 10th graders who are interested in CTE for the next school year. I'd like to highlight some of our student highlights, Skilled USA Framework superstars and ambassadors from Greece, Micah Richardson in welding, he's a senior, and then Sarah Weiss, dental assisting, who is a junior. BOCES for Science, Greece is currently using 19 of our kits, and we have leased about 524 kits for the 22-23 school year. BOCES for Science used to be an elementary science program. We've contained that program now to 4 BOCES. We've taken actually the best pieces of each of the BOCES, and we now call it BOCES for Science. Currently, we're on Turner Drive in Spencerport. We'll be moving to a new location just after the first of the year, and we'll be having a ribbon cutting ceremony that we'll be inviting all of our components districts to in our boards. Yeah, the new program is going to be housed at Rochester Tech Park because it's really grown and leaps and bounds. We also, at the state level, just a couple things that we're very much involved in is the graduation measures and the Blue Ribbon Commission in terms of relooking at what graduations measures should look like in New York State. As soon as that comes out, I will be pushing that out to Kathy and staff, board members, community members, all stakeholders. We ask you to take a look at that, give feedback in terms of what you think those graduation measures should be in New York State, and we will be pushing that out in our area. It's going to be about a 2-year process, and then recommendations would be made to the Board of Regents. Additionally, the Board of Regents obviously continues with their culturally responsive framework. As a district superintendent, I'm in Albany once or twice a month. I see what the districts across New York State are doing in terms of the culturally responsive area. I will tell you, Greece Central, you're impressive in what you're doing with your teachers and what you're doing with your students. So kudos to all of you. I'm very proud to be your district superintendent. So Chuck's going to tell you a little bit about our annual meeting. Chuck?
Once a year, we have an annual meeting. I don't know what else to say. No, no, I'm just kidding. It's a chance to learn about both these programs and for all of us to get together. And we have the students actually perform the duties of preparing the meal and serving the meals. So it gives them a chance to do it on a real-time basis. So if you get a chance to attend, it would be nice to do. It's on April 12th of next year, 2023. Doesn't seem like seems like a long ways away, but it's closer than you think. So anyway, and any time you want to come to BOCES, I mean, the terms are thrown around here, CTE, special ed, whatever. I mean, you know, call one of us, call me, call Joanne, call, you know, you can go on a tour, see some of these students in action. It's quite impressive, the CTE program, actually. Training in automotive, welding programs expanded this year. There's just a lot of things that these kids get into that are really good. And we place about 98% of these kids in a job after they get out. Okay, so it's really beneficial if they're interested to do this. So anyway. So that's about it. Any questions? We'll be glad to answer them. Okay. Thank you very much.
So we thank Chuck for his service. It's been 31 years on the BOCES board, and then I know he had years of service on the Greece board. Just a reminder to the Greece staff, The Make a Difference scholarships will be coming due after the first of the year also, and these are, our foundation board awards $5,000 scholarships to seniors that are going on either to college or career training. Once again, we're alive and well, and we'll be doing that again, and so reminding you of that. In addition, Chuck just mentioned career tech education. That's another area. Right now, we've formed a space committee within BOCES. You know, we are busting at the seams with certain courses. So we are looking for a second CTE site, and we're going to be working on that in terms of so we can accommodate more students. So, and as Chuck said, I'm always available. Chuck is available if there's any questions at all. And then lastly, I would just like to compliment my colleague, Kathy Groutman. We've been through a difficult 2 years, right? And now we're all trying to get back on our feet and move forward. The most important priority for us is our students. And together, I'm very proud to work with Kathy. She's a contributing member to our superintendents, Monroe County Council superintendents, along with Westside. And I can tell you her number one priority is making sure our programs deliver what they need to for our students. So Kathy, it's my pleasure to serve with you, and I thank you, Grease Board, for the continued support that you give our BOCES, and it's my pleasure to be your district superintendent. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, Chuck. All right, rolling into union comments. I know GTA is not here. Guess, looks like Dr. Henley is the winner tonight. Yeah. You jumped out of that chair. I thought the building was on fire. Wow.
All right, it's November 1st, just like that. Yesterday I was in costume with my kids. Today I heard Christmas music on the radio. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, a few highlights of what's going on around the district. Lakeshore Spirit Week included former Lakeshore alumni returning for a performance on Charlie Brown, which we'll hear a little bit more about in a minute. Superhero Day and our Superhero Awards ceremony with board member Megan Farah to celebrate the great things our students are doing. At EV, we're wrapping up a successful round of student review meetings. These involve school administration meeting with each classroom teacher to review data and ensure that every student receives what he and she needs to be successful. EV had quite a few chances to shine in the last couple of weeks, as we have had the following SIP reviews, a visit from Dr. Payne, and the opportunity to host PLNs, which are our principal learning networks, visit number 1. There was lots of great discussion and feedback shared to support EV as we continue down the road of CSI, continuous school improvement. We are also wrapping up parent-teacher conferences at this time, and these have been attended with a high participation rate and have been tailored to meet our students' parents' schedules and needs. Fireman Dean visited to talk with our kindergartners, our kindergarten students, about fire safety. At Arcadia High, I just talked about the Charlie Brown musical, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. They had an amazing fall show, and if you missed it, please consider coming in the spring to support the Titans while they perform in the Addams Family musical. At Brookside, there are lots of great things happening there as well. A group of 5th grade students initiated a Toy for Tots coin drive to give back to the community during the holiday season. And this just in on Twitter, don't forget that the Grease Odyssey Middle School Skating Party is happening literally as we speak. So we have about 5 more minutes left to get to that right down the road. And at Craig Hill, staff continue to participate in school choice professional learning around our instructional priorities. In October, the Choice PL was around Costa's levels of questioning and learning targets, and in November, the Choice PL will be on feedback protocols. We've had a packed and very successful open house on October 19th, and parent-teacher conferences were a success as well at Craig Hill, working on building connections with families. November 16th and 17th, our 3rd graders are going to a field trip to the Grease Public Library, so that should be fun. And at Patty Hill, it's a great month. Students are continuing to work towards their classroom WIGs, which are the wildly important goals, such as increasing reading stamina, iReady lessons, etc. On Monday, the whole school came together for a school-wide assembly focused on habit number 2 from Leader and Me, beginning with the end in mind. We are visited by the characters from the 7 Oaks, who helped us learn about making a plan to reach our goals. After the assembly, students and staff participated in the second annual Patty Hill Pumpkin Day. If you see the picture there, you'll note that pumpkins float. I did not know that. That's why I included that picture. Activities included an outdoor scavenger hunt, a pumpkin seed counting contest, a pumpkin science investigation, and more. We are looking forward to a great month ahead, and as always, it's always great to be a Bulldog. And the Department of School to Career Pathways in District Office is pleased to announce that on October 20th, the Office of Career and Technical Education approved the new GCSD Culinary Arts Program. This program will provide students with the opportunity to engage in a rigorous course progression that will incorporate opportunities for industry certification, work-based learning, and dual enrollment credit. Although it will be made available to all high schools across the district, classes will take place on the Arcadia and Olympia campuses. They're also pleased to announce the Instructional Management Division of the U.S. Army Cadet Command has authorized Sergeant Major Dean A. Welch, and as the students mentioned earlier, First Sergeant Xavier Whitehead to serve as official JROTC officers assigned to the Athena High School. In addition to building the program at Athena High School, they will be supporting students across the district in a variety of capacities. More updates to follow. And at Olympia, they held a spectacular event for middle school students to attend in costume. This event was coordinated and supported by student leaders from NHS, NJHS, and Ignition. These upper class students created a frightful haunted house, mystery box station, and facilitated a Halloween-themed bingo room. Refreshments were free, thank you to generous donations made by staff. The PTSA and our community schools team, over 200 children from our school community enjoyed this special event. And this picture, I believe, is Mark Fleming haunting the halls of Olympia. And that is it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Henley. I don't believe I have anybody from AgSept, Gus, or Teamsters. All right, moving into Residents Forum. Our first speaker this evening, I'd like to invite to the microphone to my right is Ashley Baps. Welcome, Ashley.
Hello, everybody. I actually don't know if I like looking this way. I'm used to seeing all you guys in front of me. I'm going to change things up a little bit. So my original speech was going to be about the curriculum, but then an incident happened yesterday at my daughter's school, which is now I'm going to talk about the violence and fighting. My 14-year-old daughter was walking to class yesterday, and this boy came up to her and put his hands around her neck and warned her that if she and her friend need to watch who the F they're talking about. An hour before this boy was involved in another incident with a different girl, my daughter's best friend actually, in which he hit. His mom hadn't picked him up from school because he did get suspended, but that allowed him to still roam the hallways, which is then when he found my daughter. What's even more troubling than this is the fact that this isn't the first run-in that I've had with this boy. We've had problems with him last year. He threatened and he harassed my daughter last year. He even sent her a text message and asked her if she wanted to die and get shot in the head. The school knew all about it, but yet he only gets a slap on the hand. For someone who has had multiple suspensions last year and 3 already this year, how are kids like this still at school? We need to stop coddling them and teach them accountability, and that actions have consequences. The school has a responsibility to prepare these kids for the future. Minimizing bad behavior and making excuses for them is not doing them justice, because once they graduate, the real world is going to chew them up and spit them right back out. All of your decisions are based on information that you receive. So how can you, the board, be effective if you don't have up-to-date information? You didn't know about the teacher that was punched in the face. It was either at Athena or Acadia. You didn't know about the students from Olympia who right after school were involved in an attempted stabbing. There's a video going around Olympia right now of a 9th grader at the school performing oral sex while a gun is pointed at her head. You don't know a lot. So instead of the policy's quarterly reports that you get, change the policy, and you need to be demanding weekly reports to stay up to date. 2 of you have kids that go to the same school as mine, and I know you hear stories. Out of the entire Monroe County, Grace was the only district that had 2 candidates that won without the Teachers Association endorsement. What does that tell you? People want change. We deserve change. Our kids deserve it. And we'll just have to keep taking your seats until the change we see. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Mrs. Likey, Mary Likey, welcome this evening, Mary.
Tonight I'm going to share information from the book Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier, a writer for the Wall Street Journal. The term gender dysphoria was considered a mental illness until recently. Now psychologists and doctors are expected to confirm a patient's self-diagnosis without investigating the causes or its validity. Based on 100 years of data about transgenderism, it is very rare, 0.01% of the population, 1 in 10,000, almost exclusively male. Early onset, between ages of 2 and 4, children complain that they are in the wrong body or manifest it in some way. 70% outgrow or may transition as adults. Before 2007, there was no record of gender dysphoria in girls. Now, as of 2018, 1 in 200 school students claim to be transgender, overwhelmingly teenage girls. The UK tracks all health records and shows a 4,400% increase in the last decade. It's characterized by a sudden onset with no childhood history. The only acceptable treatment now is to help children transition socially and then medically as early as possible to avoid suicide. The truth about the dangers of the treatments, researchers who challenge unfounded conclusions, and data which reveal a different narrative have all been suppressed. This explosion presents what many professionals see as the worst mental health crisis we have ever faced and can be explained as social contagion fueled by social media and activists. We have witnessed this phenomenon before with teenage girls sharing and spreading their pain associated with anorexia, bulimia, and even suicide. The isolation created by closing schools during COVID has exacerbated the situation, and girls who are depressed and isolated found an answer to their misery and a community of support. They were told they could escape the changes to their body and the accompanying pain by taking testosterone, which would also help them realize they were just born in the wrong body. When they publicly announce their transgender status, they earn immediate validation and popularity. Since a publication of her book, Schreier has been inundated with support from parents of daughters who report 15, 20, or even 30% of their child's class in junior high identify as transgender. There is no similar increase in boys or men. Many clinics, including Planned Parenthood, offer counseling service, treatment options, including puberty blockers and cross-gender hormones, which will often lead to infertility. In Oregon, the age of medical consent is 15. What 15 years old has a maturity to gauge the loss of these life-altering decisions? I'll skip to the end because you're going to call me off, I know.
Yep.
How can a government which is of the people, by the people, and for the people claim ownership of our children, remove all safe spaces
Mrs.
for our
Leakey, your
girls and
time's
women,
up. I'm gonna
and
have to cut
deny
you
our
off.
freedoms of religion and
Ms. Leakey, I'm gonna ask you
speech?
to stop talking. Your time is up. We have a hard 4 minutes.
Our
Thank you.
Constitution says that they cannot.
Thank you, Mrs. Leakey. Mr. Frazone, welcome this evening, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
I'm here today because I want to talk about what's going on in a couple schools with their athletics. Both my children have been a part of the programs. I have a son who is a senior and a daughter who made varsity as an 8th grader this year. The programs vary at the two schools widely to from top to bottom, not ranking very well in the state, country, whatever. I think a lot of it has to do with guidance. I think a lot of it has to do with inequity between the schools, unfortunately. That has been there for decades. I mean, I lived in Greece all my life, basically, and there were inequities 40 years ago, 30 years ago between the schools. My son's football team had 4 coaches. You go anywhere else, even Athena and Arcadia, they have more coaches. Now, granted, yeah, they have the lowest amount of kids that played in the varsity football program, but where's the accountability for 40 kids between 4 coaches? You know, we went to Webster Schrader for the sectional game. They had 75 coaches on the sideline. I know that's an exaggeration, but, where's the equality there, even between the schools in Greece for the most part? My daughter made the varsity squad, and the hire was a replacement for a coach that was out with a pregnancy. I've heard nothing but, unfortunately, I heard nothing but terrible things about how the coach coached the girls that played last year, to the point where the girls have been firing off emails, the parents have been firing off emails. And I personally, the hires that have been made for the athletic department at the 2 schools, and I'll mention them, Olympia and Odyssey, I think they have been great. I've dealt with them several times for issues. They even reach out to me when they know I might have a question. I mean, that's where I am with them. I cannot thank you enough for those hires because they have been solid. My son lost 2 years of varsity baseball because he had a coach that unfortunately didn't care enough, didn't feel he had enough coaches to coach the 12 kids that were on the team or 14 kids that were on the team. He lost 2 years because parents meddling with the coaches. That happens. I know that happens. It happened when I went here in the district. It's an unfortunate and sometimes unforeseen event that happens. That did not happen with the girls' varsity squad at all. I watched, 14 or 16 girls come together by their sectional game that almost, beat an evenly matched team, but they held top-ranked Honeoye Falls in their second game to basically 1 goal before the final 15 minutes. And they did that all the way through their final 7 games when they ran the table, only losing by 1 and only winning 1 game in that 7 games. And now they're going to lose a coach that brought them together, a coaching staff that wants to rebuild that program. I know we have that at Olympia too for the football team that my son just played for, but they don't have enough coaches. There's not enough kids. There's not enough outreach to get those kids into the program. It's hard. I agree with a lot of the parents that say that you don't need to coddle these kids. You're right, you don't need to coddle them, but you need to be more interactive with them. And where the question lies is how interactive. It needs to be more. My son's friends are they have single parents. I hear it. Luckily, they're all a good bunch of kids. They really are. Dr. Henley ran a great school at Odyssey, and I'm sure Dr. Hepburn or Mr. Hepburn will too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll have the athletic director, Mr. Istis, reach out to you by the end of the week. He'll make
That's fine.
He'll make contact with you, and you guys can have a conversation a little bit further in depth and go from there. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3.01, budget parameters, budget goals presentation. Superintendent Groutman.
So this marks an important day. Romeo, Mr. Kalili is going to share with us the budget parameters and goals that we have established for this year that will guide us throughout this entire budget season until we get to our May vote. So with that, I'll turn it right over to Mr. Kalili.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. What we thought we'd do is cover sort of what we know as of today going into the budget development cycle, starting in about December and really hitting stride in January. Just so everyone's aware, this is information around the general fund budget. It does not concern the stimulus funds. We reviewed that last board meeting, but we are looking at the stimulus funds in relation to the general fund and how we need to make transfers and how to strategically budget in future years. That's not what we're addressing tonight. Tonight we're addressing what we know as of today in the general fund. So everything during budget development moves around our new REACH 2027 strategic plan goal. We will be aligned with the three commitments of igniting learning, cultivating trust, and expanding opportunity. And the strategic plan goal in the middle is what we will be looking to achieve when things come up where we need to make decisions on budget items. We generally go back to the strategic plan goal and use that as our kind of hook and anchor on making decisions. So I just wanted to start with that and remind everybody as to what those are. So back 6 months ago in April, just a refresher on what had happened back in October, the settlement was reached with our foundation aid. It required New York State to pay us our full foundation aid by the 23-24 budget, and district demographics within the formula would be adjusted as well. Districts were to receive about 30% in year one, 50% in year two, 50% in year three. For us specifically at Greece, we did get an increase of $9 million in 21-22. We got $15.5 million in the current year budget in our foundation aid 22-23, and we are expecting $15.5 million more in 23-24. And at the time in April, Governor was quoted as saying, we'll make sure that the money is going to be there. And what that looked like for us is a big swing. This is the state enacted foundation aid increase. You can see back in 17-18 through about 2021, level was about $800 million, $600 to $800 million. Actually in 2021, foundation aid increase was $0, and then it's gone up from there. And what we did is I put red lines in. We don't know what is going to happen with foundation aid after 23-24. We're not certain if it's going to be flat, if it's going to be 2%, 3%. But one item that comes up occasionally is the new foundation aid formula has a CPI factor in it. CPI runs around 7, 8, 9%, which is no way that we're going to be able to include those kind of percentage increases in a formula that's already compounding it. So we're not sure, and that's why we kind of put this in red just to indicate, not sure where we're going to go with that, but we do believe we will see our $15.5 million increase for next year. Again, where are we now? October, 6 months later. Well, there's a significant decrease in collection of personal income taxes. That's been noted in various journals. The jobs growth estimate for New York State has decreased by about 50% for 2023. All the state's major stock markets are down at least 10% since the beginning of the year. For 2023, New York State is now expecting to have a $310 million gap, which balloons to $6.5 billion shortfall by 2027 under the new projections. And a lot of that has to do with that inflation factor if they remain as they are. And as you can see in the next bullet, inflation, labor shortages are driving up costs. They are expected to remain high. So we're expecting utilities, contract services, supplies and materials to also remain a little bit inflated as they currently are. Next bullet is just healthcare, education, and the state workforce are the three largest portions of the state budget. And I've seen a couple times where they've discussed cost-saving opportunities at the state level. To me, that kind of means that's going to be one of the places they're going to go, so we're not really certain what to expect down the road. And why is that important? 50% of our budgeted revenues come from state sources. So we are not we're not like other districts where you only rely on 20% of state aid to run your district because you're getting the funds from your property taxes. We are 50% levy, 50% state aid. So depending on where this goes, it could have an impact on us. But what do we know for next year? Just run through some items. Foundation aid increase, already said we're scheduled for $15.5 million. We believe we'll see that. Our expense-based aids, we have no new information, but we believe that those formulas will stay unchanged. Our sales tax, it's been higher than what we have budgeted for. It remains higher than we've anticipated, which I think has shocked a lot of people, but I'm starting to see that that's starting to turn a little bit, flatten out or start to turn a little bit the other way. We're not sure where that's going to go, but we are going to budget conservatively for sales tax as we have in the past, because that's just an item we just don't know what's going to happen with. Our property tax allowable growth levy, as I mentioned, CPI, the Consumer Price Index, will be around 7 or 8%. We're going to be capped at the 2% factor for the tax cap formula. And our grants, pretty stable. However, we do have our eye on Title I, and I only put it in here because there was a major increase there for about $1 million. We're still trying to figure out if that's a permanent increase or if it's a temporary increase relating to current economic situations. But once we figure that out, we'll plan accordingly in future years. Our pilots, which refers to payments in lieu of taxes, they're fairly stable. However, we do know that we have 5 pilots coming off and going back onto the tax rolls in the next 12 to 18 months. But those will be offset by an increase in the assessed value for the Amazon Distribution Center that was put up and opened up back in September of 21 in Greece, and Apple Latta, which is the home where Apple Annie's, the complex where Apple Annie's is. Those assessed values have gone up. We're going to lose the 5 pilots that go down. We're figuring it might be a decrease of about $300,000. It's a decrease more than we've seen in the past, but nothing significant at this time. In other revenues, no significant changes. Looking at the expense side, payroll salaries, very high level. We're thinking we're going to be salaries will roll over, current salaries will roll over at about $6.5 million, compared to about $4.5 million in previous years. Some of that is a result of currently negotiated contracts during COVID. So Teamsters, AgSep, GTA, GUS, GASUP. We've settled all those contracts. We have to account for those new salaries and adjustments that were made in those contracts. So we're thinking somewhere around $6.5 million. Healthcare, initially, we're going to budget at about 7.5%. Again, this is one of those items that the rates that we get for healthcare, they are budgeted January to December. However, our budget goes July to June. So we know for January through, for July through December of next school year, the rates will be around 6.8% increase, but we don't know what's going to happen in January 24. So we use our RASH consortium trend amount of about 8.5%. We average the two, somewhere around 7.5% is our projection to start with. Employer contribution, we know that's going to go to, for ERS, Employee Retirement System, it's going to go to 13.1% of salaries. That's an increase of about 13% from the current year, which is 11.6%. And we just got the TRS employer contribution notification today. The current rate for the current year is 10.29%. They are projecting will be somewhere between 9.5% and 10%, so a little bit lower than where we are now. Just a quick graph at the ERS and the TRS rates over the last several years. You can see some variability in it, but the red are the trend lines, still trending down, but at a little bit higher level going into next year. Contract negotiations, all contracts are settled, so we're good on that front. We know what the costs are going to be going into 23-24, so that'll be helpful for us. We know that minimum wage, starting December, will be $14.20, and looks like it will go to $15 sometime next year. Our instructional initiatives continue to be one-to-one technology and replacement of those items, social emotional learning, community schools, early learning center, and instructional interventions throughout the district. Our utility cost, we're still looking at those, but we're thinking we may need to budget those right now at about 20% on select items. We're not certain if we need to do that across the board, but gasoline prices, fueling prices have gone up 30, 40% in some cases. I'm not sure we'll go that high, but we need to budget an increase on select items, and we're taking a look at that. And we'll continue to do that over the next several months. Charter schools remain a significant cost for us. We've got about the equivalent of 270 FTEs, full-time equivalent students that attend 16 charters in the area. 4 of those charters being in Greece. That tab is somewhere around $3.5 million for us a year. On the enrollment projections, we're still finalizing those, but in the past 2 COVID years, what we had seen a couple years ago was a decrease in K-5 enrollment by about 3.5–4%. What we're not certain is, are those kids during those 2 years going to come back to Greece when wherever they are, a charter or a private school, and they hit 5th grade going into 6th, are they going to be coming back into Greece or not? We're not 100% certain, but the other projections for middle school and high school seem pretty stable. We'll share some of that information with the board at our retreat, and then take the lead from the board as to a public presentation on that. Transportation contracts, we're currently still utilizing Ontario Bus. We will continue to utilize Ontario Bus. We're in halfway decent shape in terms of buses because we've given more routes to Ontario, but there still remains a bus driver shortage that we need to deal with. And one of our primary goal in all of this is to do whatever we need to do in order to get the school kids to school on time every morning. We also have our Budget Advisory Committee, group of us that get together 5 times a year between December and March to discuss budget items before we come to the board meeting. Primary purpose is to review the base budget and proposals and the programs, get some feedback on how we increase stakeholder involvement, feedback on improving the budget communication plan, and feedback on the 23-24 budget development process as a whole. So that committee will start up next month at some point. Our budget targets for next year, we'll plan again for the phase-in of our foundation aid increase. We expect CPI at 2% for our tax cap calculation. We will stay within the maximum allowable levy of the tax cap calculation. We'll continue our strategic use of reserves and fund balance, maintain a reasonable budget-to-budget increase, continue to match staffing with enrollment, which is what we've been doing for the last many years. We actually staff adults to students based on course enrollments. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to strategically use our Smart School Bond Act funding, our ARP stimulus, and our CRRSA stimulus funds as best we could to help the district and utilize the money before the deadlines that are fast approaching. And we continuously are looking at efficiencies wherever we can. Our parameters, we're going to budget for the new contractual increases or individual agreements. For salaries, we will budget for the respective and related payroll taxes, employee retirement, teacher retirement allocations. We'll review all the line items for any contingencies that we may need to take into account, review for efficiencies, and again, comply with the tax cap calculation. Lastly, just looking at sort of a timeline, which we kind of do every year. The gold boxes represent board meetings. The white boxes represent the Budget Advisory Committee meetings. So on October 4th, we adopted the calendar. Tonight, we're doing the pre-budget hearing. December 6th is our next board meeting, and somewhere in between, either before that board meeting or just after that, we will have a Budget Advisory Committee meeting. We have a budget board meeting update on January 3rd when we return from the holidays. Again, somewhere in there, we will have a Budget Advisory Committee. Then on January 17th, we'll have another budget update for the board. February 7th, we will be in front of the board discussing the rollover budget, as well as the governor's budget and state and analysis. We should know that information in the third or fourth week of January. We'll have another Budget Advisory Committee meeting in February to discuss the state aid and the governor's budget, tax cap, and our debt service. On February 28th, we'll come back to the board and discuss a budget update, the tax cap, debt service, and the bus replacement plan for the 23-24 school year. We'll have another Budget Advisory Committee meeting March 7th. We'll do an update for the board. We usually end our Budget Advisory Committee meetings in March. That last one is a to be determined as well, if we need it or not, but if we need it, we'll hold two in March. March 21st, we'll be back at the board meeting with an update, a bus resolution, and preliminary public input. By the end of March, the legal notice will go out for the annual meeting. April 11th will be the superintendent's proposed budget for 23-24. The following week, on April 18th, we will look to have the budget adopted, adopting the proposed budget and the property tax report card. By April 25th, the budget book will be available to the public, and then throughout the month, you'll see legal notices go out to our residents. On May 2nd will be our official public hearing on the proposed budget. May 3rd, next day, the budget notice will be mailed to all our residents. May 5th, final legal notice will go out, and on May 16th will be the budget vote and Board of Elections.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. All right, moving on to the pre-budget hearing. I'm going to call a pre-budget hearing to order. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in regards to the pre-budget hearing? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn the pre-budget hearing? Moved by Vice President Morris, seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? That passes. Any opposed? That passes 8-0. I'm just gonna, I don't usually do this, but in the public comment section, I'm gonna call you out, Ashley. The student was in room 309 all day. He wasn't roaming the halls of the building as you portrayed, and he has not been suspended 3 times. So whoever gave you that information provided you with bad information. So I've confirmed that with Dr. Weber from Olympia and our Director of Security, Steve Chatterton. So I just want to put that out there to everybody, because that wasn't true. Moving on, can I have somebody move staffing to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, second by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, concerns on staffing? Seeing none, all is in favor? Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on to tenure, can I have somebody move the tenure to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, or concerns on tenure? Seeing none, all is in favor? That passes Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on to the non-unit rate sheets. Can I so I move that to the table, please? Moved by Ms. Flora, seconded by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all is in favor? Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on next to presentation 6.01 course offering guide. Superintendent Groutman.
I'm going to have Dr. Colicchio come up. This presentation is a really important presentation that we bring each fall to the Board of Education. It is important for a number of reasons. One, it is a compilation of and a collaboration of many of our administrators and teachers in the district. But it really is a document that shows what we value, what we're proud of, what we offer our students. So it is a huge point of pride for our district. Being a large district, we're able to offer our students so many opportunities, unlike some of our smaller surrounding districts. So we're very proud of it. But it also is a document that requires a great deal of work to ensure that we're getting it right in terms of what we're offering and that we're being fiscally responsible in how we do that. So I just want to give a shout out because I know that there's a lot of people sitting here in the audience tonight that had their hand in this. And Dr. Colicchio presents it to us every year in a beautiful way so that we can understand the great things that we're offering kids in Greece Central. So thanks, Dr. Colicchio.
Thank you. I am super excited to be up here because I think this is one of our most important artifacts that we produce as a school district. And the course offering guide for next year, I'm especially proud because our course offering guide is representative of all that we believe in. High expectations, opportunities for students, relevant curriculum, and acceptance for everyone who attends our schools. And like Ms. Groutman said, Superintendent Groutman said, there we go. There's a whole team behind me that we work on this year-round, and we gather student feedback, teacher feedback, state ed feedback, changes in the courses throughout New York State. But as you can see, there's many people that are involved in this, and this is proof 13 that's in front of you, and we actually found a little typo today, as we joked around that we would. But again, there's a whole team of great people that have been working on this for months. We begin in August so that we can have it ready for you. Oh, I gotta ignore the mouse, Kath. Sorry, Joe. So Commitment 1 of our strategic plan is the driving force behind our course offering guide. Igniting learning is the responsibility of the school community, and we cultivate this by offering courses that students are interested in and can relate to in some capacity. No one gets excited to learn about content they are not interested in, and we work collectively as a Department of Curriculum Instruction to offer courses our students that not only meet state requirements, but ignite their desire to learn more and become better human beings. The culturally responsive sustaining education framework is based on the 4 principles listed above. Tonight, I will specifically address 2 of them, high expectations and an inclusive curriculum. I would reinforce that these 2 principles also contribute strongly to the 3rd principle, welcoming and affirming environments. So every year I talk a little bit about what you might find that is new within our course offering guide. And earlier this year, Suzanne Pettifer presented on our new senior project. And this is something that she's been working on with Tom Mariano, because each of our 4 high schools has had some piece of this throughout the years. And as much as we've tried to standardize it, each school puts their own specific twist on it. But this year they agreed on the things that you see before you. This is an exciting experience for both our students and staff when our students proudly share how they have grown throughout their experiences at Greece Central. I ask that you as a board hold May 26th and June 1st on your calendars because you may wish to participate in this moving experience. This is a wonderful time where our students reflect on how they've grown. They show us artifacts along the way, many of them beginning in 6th and 7th grade, and how we've helped to contribute to make them the strong human beings that they are today. As a district, we celebrate what we value, and it's clear here that the traits that we value in our students. And being critical thinkers, being perseverant and resilient, being courageous, being active yet empathetic, being self-aware and personally responsible, and adaptable and independent. Strong qualities I think all of us could benefit from. So there's many rationales why you see some course changes throughout the years in our course offering guide. And as I mentioned, sometimes New York State changes the state curriculum. Sometimes we create or delete career pathways based on student interest or changes in the job market. Dual enrollment possibilities, which I'll talk a little bit more on. Student voice, are they interested in the course? Is there another course that they may be interested in? And are our students successful within these courses? Why offer them if the students don't complete them, or don't do well in them, or don't feel success afterwards, or relate to the curriculum or the content being taught? So again, we also look to create college and career experiences, exploration experiences while in high school. We've all heard the stories of someone who went off to college in a particular field. There may even be some of us in this room who wanted to study one thing, spent 2 years in a course in a content area, spent thousands and thousands of dollars to only realize that I don't want to be a veterinarian, maybe I want to be an architect, right? These courses allow students to dip their toes in this curriculum, even at the college level, not at the high expense, and to get to learn a little bit more of who they are. We like to budgetary limitations, sometimes we have to remove courses, but thankfully that doesn't seem to be as much of a concern as years in past. And teacher qualifications. As much as we've wanted to offer a couple courses, the colleges won't take them as dual enrollment eligible or qualified. Sometimes finding a tech teacher these days is like finding a unicorn, truly. And sometimes that impacts the courses that we offer because we don't want students to get excited about courses that we can't deliver once the time comes. So how to dual enrollment in AP courses, well, take this mouse away from me. How do dual enrollment in AP courses benefit your child? I mentioned this a little bit. Now, dual enrollment courses mean that the student is dually enrolled in the college and in high school simultaneously. Sometimes you hear it called dual credit, where you get high school credit, graduation credit, and college credit simultaneously, but actually, it's different because we don't necessarily get the grades that the students receive from the college. The student gets that as their personal transcript. They look just like an MCC student with an MCC transcript. So they help prepare the students for the academic challenges they will face in college. It helps colleges to see that the students have proven themselves in higher level courses. AP has not become as important as it is in years past, but they want to see that a student has challenged themselves in some capacity. And it shows admissions offices that students are ready for colleges. Dual enrollment courses cost a fraction of what the same course costs on a college campus, and it gives the students the opportunity to try out content that they may be interested in studying later in college. This is a slide that you should really take a second to take in. During the 23-24 school year, we hope to offer 78 college credit eligible courses. 66 right within Greece Central School District, and 12 more for our students who enroll both here in Womoco. That is absolutely amazing and something to be proud of. And again, deepen our commitment to assist all students in being successful at higher level curriculum. New courses for 23-24 are the Advanced Culinary Arts Program, Kitchen and Restaurant Management, Intro to Machining and Machine Theory, and computer-aided drafting, design, and solid modeling. Tough courses, but of high interest to our students. These are the same dual enrollment partnerships that we've had for many years. They're very exciting. They each have a different flavor to them, and different opportunities and different courses. MCC has what we call the right to first refusal. Sometimes MCC will say we don't offer that course, so then we may go on to a different partner. But I must say our partnerships with all of these universities, colleges, have been absolutely wonderful and really supportive to our students, and our data shows that many of our kids who find successful experiences in high school and feel successful attend many of these same colleges that are right in our own back door, so I'm excited about that. So I broke this is a new chart that I did this year that I wanted to show and showcase how well distributed our courses are in terms of interest areas. So whether you're interested in the arts, there's 5 courses that are college credit bearing, or an opportunity for college credit for students. 11 within the business department. Ms. Malloy, I hope you noticed that. 5 within English, Family and Consumer Science. There's 5 more. 2 in PE and Health. These are some of the first dual enrollment courses offered in the area, part of our early college high school program. Math, science, social studies, technology, world languages, again, we're offering courses that are consistent with student interest. If we have students who want to take Italian 5, we're one of the rare school districts that's offering Italian 5 to our students because we have a community that wants it. Some of the courses, the Italian, or the early college, high school specific courses, they're interesting because they have philosophy in there, some college, preparing for college courses in there that don't necessarily fit within one of our departments, but I didn't want to leave them out. So that brings us to the 66 that we offer on campus. Our career pathways, you will get a later presentation on this, but this is just an overview. We have built our career pathways so that any student can be successful. They're not rigid, and we called them pathways long before the state adopted that term, and a pathway is important. It doesn't mean everyone needs to go in the same direction. Students get to experience different pieces or the whole piece, looking for the state endorsement that we talked of earlier. So again, there's the administrative assistant, there's the business specialist for someone who's interested in the business department. Our civic leadership pathway encompasses our JROTC program. Computer programming is pretty obvious what that one is about. The culinary and hospitality group was mentioned earlier with the Arcadia and Olympia culinary kitchen piece, always popular. And I tell you what, kids who do well in that program, no matter where they go, what they do, they are at the favorite housemate, right? We laugh in responding to emergencies. If you know anything about firehouse dynamics, being someone who can cook in a firehouse will get you far. But again, this is an interesting one that kids can dip their feet in, get some certifications, work in restaurants as part-time jobs through college, or find a career. Early childhood education in the teacher cadet program, we are really seeing this area blossom, and we hope to grow our own and then hire our own afterwards. So we're excited about that. Pre-engineering has become the manufacturing pre-engineering pathway, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And responding to emergencies is the one that's very near and dear to my heart because it's probably the widest pathway we offer and our largest. I think we have over 50 students enrolled in it right now. Many of the students are interested in fire science, police work, 911 operations, and EMS, and we have many beautiful partnerships throughout the city of Rochester to assist us in that. So the new courses that I briefly mentioned earlier, I want to show you that they typically replace something else. Advanced culinary arts sounds a little bit different than the introduction to the hospitality industry. This one is a little more streamlined. It's culinary arts, it's cooking. Kids want to cook, and we have beautiful kitchens for them to cook in. Hospitality industry is an important course, but we found that kids weren't necessarily interested in, say, hotel management and that kind of thing. Kitchen and restaurant management, pretty clear. Again, the kids want to be in the kitchen, so parents with students in these courses, you better see some more help at home. And then introduction to machining and machine theory is going in place of some of our machine shop laboratory and our Project Lead the Way courses, and I'll show you a slide with that in a second. And computer-aided drafting, design, and solid modeling, that's 3D printing. But it's a pretty technical course, and we're excited to offer that one this year too. And again, you could see the different departments that they fall within. You're going to be hearing more and more about the improvements to the machining and engineering pathway. We've been granted a $1.5 million grant that occurred basically right before the shutdown with MCC as the lead partner, with BOCES, Greece Central, and some RCSD students. And this is an exciting one because, again, as we talk about opportunities for all students, students involved in this machining and engineering pathway program, no matter what your economic status is, you will be able to take those courses for free. So sometimes, you know, again, families get frustrated. Even if you qualify, you do not qualify for free and reduced lunch, but it's still a stretch for you to pay for these courses. They are free. So we're excited what this partnership has to offer. I was able to tour this with our Director of College and Career Pathways, Corey Skinner, and let me show you what this place looks like. Now, when all of us think of a machining lab, we think dark, we think dirty, right? We think Lucy and the machine line, the line and the candy coming across. What you see here in the machine that's in the front produces the small object that's here next to the mouse. So it's all computer generated. You can see at the end of the table there's a large computer. The yellow arm that's in the center is a robotic arm. This is the future of machining. This is at MCC. It is this bright, white, clean classroom that's absolutely amazing, and it's right here on State Street / Lake Avenue. I still can't figure that piece out, but it's right around the corner from Greece Central. This is an exciting opportunity for our students. We look to have them take classes there on the MCC campus, in the MCC labs, with MCC instructors, and because we believe in all kids being successful, and this could be an important experience for them, we may even send some Greece Central staff support, because I tell you what, you put some kids in a college campus, their eyes get wide. We want to make sure they're successful and supported within the classroom, and that MCC also feels success in the program. So we're excited. Good things to come. You'll see more on that. So our next steps, early November, pretty much after, as soon as this book gets approved and we move on. Course selection begins with students and parents. On the week of November 14th, high schools will hold course fairs for students. There will be, mark your calendars, a dual enrollment course offering parent night on Monday, November 17th from 6 to 7:30 in the Greece Performing Arts Center. This is our highest attended meeting of the year. For parents, in terms of district-wide, we're looking to make sure we try to offer a virtual option to this as well, because we found many families are busy and can't necessarily make it back. And then course selection choices are due back in our office, so we can begin the staffing process that you'll learn more about later on January 20th. I have to say, for this slide especially, I'm extremely grateful for Mark Fleming, our new principal on special assignment, and Corey Skinner for their work to support the high schools in making this happen. And that's it for that, for me. Any questions?
We're going to hold questions till we get to the resolution.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Colicchio. Moving on to 6.02, Special Education Annual Update. Superintendent Groutman.
Yep, I'm going to invite Stacy Brindisi to come on up. So this is an annual presentation that we do, and again, similar to the course offering guide, really highlights the incredible amounts of supports and services that we provide as a district in terms of the special education world. One thing I will say, big picture, is special education is probably one of the most challenging departments, no matter where you go in the state or the country. And that is because kids are all unique and so different. And what we've really worked hard to do in Greece is to ensure that we have a really strong continuum of services and supports, and that we have people working and building relationships with families and students so that we can offer everything that our kids need and keep them, hopefully, as many of them as possible here in Greece. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy, and I think Melanie's here also to help with this presentation. So thank you, and thanks to the team for being here as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Groutman. Good evening. I'm Stacy Brindisi. I am the Executive Director of People Personnel Services, and with me is Melanie Stevenson, serving as the Director of People Personnel Services. And we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight to share a little bit of information regarding special ed programming across the district. So one thing I just want to highlight, I know each of you received a really extensive report last week, so we're going to present highlights tonight, and if there's anything you find that you were curious about or wanted more information about, you can feel free to reach out to either Melanie or I, and we'll follow up with you. So I'm just going to hang here for a minute on this slide. This is our overall visual representation of the department with our clerical staff, but I really want to hang on the next slide for a couple of minutes so that I can introduce my amazing team, and I'm going to ask each one of them to stand up. I think it's important that everyone has sort of a face to the name, but also here's the buildings and programs that they support. So assistant directors, I'm going to start with Emily Garino, who supports English Village, Lakeshore, Longridge, and Odyssey. Brian Kurtzel, who supports Athena Middle, Athena High, Autumn Lane, Brookside, and Craig Hill. I think I don't even actually need this because I know him so well. Jess Matukowicz, who is new to us as of recently. She supports Holmes Road, Buckman, Arcadia Middle, and Arcadia High. And Lori Ruggieri, this is her 6th year as assistant director with us. She supports Olympia, Patty Hill, Pinebrook, Westridge / ELC, Phoenix Academy, and she supervises our transition program as well. Emily Lathers is new to us this year as a full-time assistant director of People Personnel Services. We really appreciate that support. Emily has a significant caseload. Approximately 100 students she supports in over 20 different schools, so it's really helpful to have her full-time to provide that level of access to our programs. And finally, Sue Ellen Stacy is a teacher on special assignment, and she supports all of our CPSE and preschool programming. So, all right. So the continuum that my team supports is extensive. We are extremely fortunate in Greece. Aside from the city school district, we have the most extensive and comprehensive continuum of special education services in the county. And it's really a point of pride for my entire department. And as Superintendent Groutman said, this continuum is really responsible for allowing us to support and educate almost 90% of our students who are classified with an IEP in Greece. So this table represents the overall continuum of services from least to most restrictive. So related services only would be the least restrictive. So the least amount of service a student would receive and still be classified as special ed. They wouldn't have a program. They would just have different sessions in a related service like speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, or other services like that. The others are programs. Melanie's going to talk a little bit about our primary service delivery, which is ICT, and the rest are moving towards more restrictive and most restrictive residential placements, which is not typical. What really is important to note is our specialized programming. So that special class box there that highlights 611, 811, 1211, and our 12-to-1 to 3-to-1. So just to explain that a little further, we'll get into more detail. But a 611 program has 6 students, 1 teacher, and 1 TA. And similar to 8 and 12. I'll explain the ratio later with the 12-to-1 to 3-to-1. But what's important to note is that these specialized programs and the staff associated with them allow us the opportunity to keep our kids within the district. And Mel and I were actually talking about some of our service providers in this next slide. We've, between us, been in 10 different districts supporting PPS administration and have never worked in a district with such a comprehensive amount of staff that are Greece employees. So what most districts do is they contract out with a local area BOCES and have service providers coming in that are serving as itinerant providers, not necessarily connected to teams. This table represents employees that are Greece Central School District full-time employees. Every person on this chart, with the exception of our transition specialist, who we still contract for. But everyone else is a full-time employee. This allows us the opportunity to build supports of our programs, like I said, keep our students enrolled, but also offer consultation and expertise to our entire district because they're members of our staff. So a little bit about enrollment within our schools of students with disabilities. So at this point, we have 1,414 students with disabilities in attendance at one of our 18 in-district buildings, including Phoenix. Our overall enrollment, you see there, which leads us to a classification rate of 14.2% for internal in our schools. You'll see in my report that the State Ed Department does set a target of 12.5%, but there are some variables to think about when we talk about our classification rate in Greece, which are very unique to Greece. I included them in the report, but just to highlight for everyone's information, last year we had 138 new referrals coming from our 18 buildings. About 100 of those were eligible students. We had 254 students transferring in and 157 transferring out, leaving us with that net add of about 100 kids. And we also only declassified 17 students for the entire school year last year, and that's a major area for growth for us as a district, and something Melanie will touch on too. So a little more detail regarding the enrollment, just to explain it, because the schools are not the only services that we're responsible for oversight of. We're responsible for a total of 1,580 students on this chart here. So if you kind of look, here is the number I just shared with you, 1414. That represents our 18 schools and our total number of students with IEPs. 88 students represents Emily Lather's caseload in that they're CSE recommended outside placements, Crestwood, BOCES, Mary Cariola, recommended by the CSE. Parentally placed within district boundaries, district residents. So these are students who are homeschooled. These are students who are in attendance at our private schools of Greece Christian, St. Lawrence, and 29 underneath is non-district residents. So those are students who are in attendance at our private schools who do not live in Greece. Charter schools, we're only responsible for resident students. Private schools, we're responsible for every student located in that school if it's within our boundaries. So we recently, several years ago, had a school coming in that has a significant amount of enrollment from just one district. I highlighted it in our report, and most of the students are enrolled in that school. But it leads to this overall oversight of a significant amount of programmings outside of the district. So I am going to just turn it over to Mel to talk a little bit about the breakdown within buildings.
All right, thank you, everyone. So this chart represents the classifications by different disability categories. I'm just going to kind of highlight the three with the highest rate. So that's other health impairment, learning disability, and speech or language impairment. Just of note with regard to other health impairment in particular is the increase that we've seen over the course of the last few years with regard to different diagnoses, specifically mental health diagnoses for students, things like anxiety, ADHD, and those would fall typically under that other health impairment category. So, you know, I do believe that that is, you know, the reason why we're seeing that at such a high level. An interesting point with regard to multiple disabilities, because this is one disability category that I think is probably the least understood. And essentially, this is where the student could qualify for two different disabilities under definition. And the examples that they give are an intellectual disability and blindness, or an intellectual disability and an orthopedic impairment. And the student requires a program that addresses both of those impairments, both of those disabilities. Just at the top, autism, not super high, but we have seen it slowly on the rise. And we're really lucky here in Greece that we are able to program for students with disabilities, with autism very successfully, while a lot of other districts tend to send students to out-of-district programming. Kind of one of the unique things about our students with autism is part of that is some management needs and some behavior that is essentially communication. But again, the many supports that we have in terms of service providers and behavior intervention support, consultation support really allows us to successfully program for our students here with autism. And that's a big point of pride for us. All right, so just to kind of highlight our main service delivery models here. First, you can see the integrated co-teaching model. So that is our primary service delivery model for the majority of our students. It's a general education class with 2 teachers. The purpose of those 2 teachers is really to reduce the ratio in order to provide specially designed instruction for students. The typical student profile in ICT is one of academic needs primarily. However, that's not to say that there won't be students that have various management needs and or behavioral needs as well in that setting. In terms of Special Class 1211, that is our other main service delivery model. It's really for students that require that smaller student-to-teacher ratio for small group instruction. A typical student profile, students are functioning in a low to very low range cognitively. So again, a lot of learning needs with regard to needing some adaptation of instruction, pacing, looking at essential standards and skills. Again, there may be students that have some behavioral challenges and or management needs in a 12-1 special class, but again, really focusing on academic pieces there. We do have 12-1 special classes in most of our elementary schools and in all secondary buildings, and integrated co-teaching is also at all of our secondary buildings and many of our elementaries. In terms of the specialized programming at the bottom of the slide, so the 12-1, 3-1, those classes are, just for your reference, at Pinebrook, Olympia, and Athena. Our special class 811s, just of note, is that we are able to separate those into 2 different groups. We have special class 811 for students with autism, and we have special class 811 for students with behavioral needs. I don't know of any other district that is really able to separate those out. Obviously, there are some unique needs with regard to both of those groups of students, and it's really great that we're able to provide the instruction and program that really supports those needs. Our special class 611, those programs are at Long Ridge and feed up to Odyssey. Our students in 611 really experience a lot of functional skill deficits, particularly with regard to communication. And they need to have a focus on those activities of daily living and functional communication in order to prepare them to be as independent as possible. Typically, you might hear them referred to as like a life skills class. Just of note, kind of going back to the students that we send out of district, my previous district has about half of the student population overall as Greece. They send out over 160 students to out-of-district programming. The continuum of service is very, very small and narrow in that district. And again, as you saw before, we send, less than 100. So again, that is really due to all the programs and resources and services that we're able to provide right here in Greece. So I'm going to highlight some of the higher percentages here. You can see Autumn Lane has a pretty large percentage there. They have 5 sections of 811 autism special classes and 1 section of a 1211 special class. Next on the list, Buckman Heights. They have 2 sections of 811 behavioral classes, 1 section of 1211, 3 ICTs as well as CT students. So again, a high number of students with disabilities in that building. Craig Hill has 3 sections of 811 autism, 2 sections of 1211 special class, and 1 ICT. And then Lakeshore has 5 sections of ICT and 2 sections of 1211 special class. And I just have to give a shout out to Lakeshore because it is one of our buildings that is typically really responsive and open to welcoming new programs within the building with open arms and being super collaborative in terms of programming for our students with disabilities. You can see that Patty Hill is pretty low. That is really due to our residency zone. We would certainly love to add more special ed programming to that building, and they would welcome it, but the residency zone really prevents us from doing that at this point in time. All right. Looking at the secondary level, all are fairly similar. Each building really does have quite a bit of specialized programming in it. So this is not all encompassing, but I'll kind of give you some highlights. So Arcadia Middle, one of the specialized programs there is the 811 behavior program. Athena Middle has 811 autism classes as well as 1211 NYSA classes. So NYSA stands for New York State Alternate Assessment. So those are students that do not take the traditional, typical New York State assessments. Arcadia High has 811 behavior special classes. Athena High has 811 autism, 1211 NYSA, and also the 1211 3-to-1 special class at that level. Again, Odyssey has the 611 special classes, and then Olympia has 1211 as well as the 1211 3-to-1 special class at that middle school level. So again, as Stacy shared, really looking at the numbers, one of the things that we are going to be focusing on more and more is our students being declassified, really making sure we're paying attention to that. COVID definitely had an impact on that because obviously we talked a lot about learning loss. Parents were seeing a lot of struggles with their students, and parents are always a part of the conversation when we're talking about and considering declassification. But again, that's something that we'll be taking a look at continuing forward. Okay. All right. So in terms of some of our priority areas as a department, a lot of these are similar from year to year. So I just want to kind of highlight the main focus areas. So I think collaboration, communication, clarity, capacity has been a priority probably since the beginning of time. One of the things I did want to show is our handbook, which I think is one of the best examples of that clarity and communication. This handbook is a huge point of pride for our department. It is a living, breathing document. You know, we tell staff, don't print out the forms because we're constantly updating them. You can essentially find information regarding process, protocol, et cetera, around, I would say, almost every topic with regard to special ed. So we're always trying to point folks back to the handbook to find the information that they need, again, so that we're consistent, we're clear, and there aren't any questions. The next bullet understanding the GCSD continuum of special ed service. Stacy's going to talk more about this, but this is one of the documents that came out of our partnership with GTA around understanding the continuum of service in Greece versus state ed continuum of service, because every district interprets the Part 200 regulations differently and obviously is able to provide different programming within districts. So again, this is something that we did a lot of work with GTA to really kind of ground us in some common understandings about our programs, about the profile of the student, the resources that might be needed, professional learning that would go along with specific programs, et cetera. And again, we saw a lot of benefit from that work and having those conversations, particularly when it comes time to be making recommendations for students at CSE meetings.
I'm sorry, just to interrupt.
Sure.
We switched the order of the slides a little bit, so I noticed you two looking. I didn't want you to miss out. The last 3 slides were swapped a little bit.
Sorry.
Apologize for that.
In terms of the multi-tiered systems of support, we've started our year in our special ed principal PLC working with Todd and Suzanne, the executive directors of curriculum, to kind of get back to basics with regard to response to intervention and really anchor everybody back into common language. We're really stressing the common language and common expectations across the district. And then principals will be provided with differentiated support from there, because every building is in a little bit of a different place with regard to their RTI processes. And just of note, assistant directors attend each building's building level problem solving meeting, and those typically occur on a weekly basis where they're problem solving around different student needs. That's one of our department commitments. In terms of the support staff shortage, obviously this has been a challenge over the past few years. This is our 3rd year of centralizing this process. And each year we're kind of refining our procedures with regard to this to make us more efficient and effective. We're definitely using some creative strategies to recruit folks. As you know, we recently in October had a staff hiring event, which was really well attended. We had just a little over 50 folks attend. We had quite a few recommendations come out of that for support staff, so child care associates and special ed monitors in particular. So that was great. And then we also are continuing to work with TES, which is a staffing agency, and we really prioritize our student needs to figure out who we pair with a Greece employee versus who we pair with an employee from the temp agency. And we have a lot of employees from TES that are interested in joining the district, so we really work with them on that process as well. We're really grateful for TES, because what that has allowed us to do is really fill the majority of our vacancies across the district. We have very few, and sometimes we're able to place folks to be consistent in a position like a teaching assistant, for example, while we look for someone who's certified, versus having like a day-to-day sub that's not consistent. We know that for our students in our special ed classes in particular, that consistency of staff is really important. As always, we're committed to providing onboarding for our new staff in terms of some standard professional learning with regard to crisis prevention intervention, or TCI, depending on the program they work on, as well as some really job-specific professional learning in order to best support them in working with the students that they're working with. In terms of the professional development piece, as Joanne and Tanasi kind of alluded to, we do have a contract with BOCES too for a special ed instructional specialist. We have her 2 days a week, and she works directly with buildings to provide professional learning, but she also works with our 4 special education TOSAs to build their capacity to then work with classroom teachers and teams of staff in buildings to best support students. You can see that some of the topics with regard to professional learning are specially designed instruction, the models of co-teaching, so that our co-teaching pairs and ICT are successful, student engagement, explicit instruction, and tiered supports. And the professional learning could be whole staff, it could be teams of teachers, it could be small groups, really just depending on what each building needs. And obviously we're in constant communication with principals around what their needs are, and really trying to be responsive and providing teachers with that just-in-time professional development and support. In terms of the classification rate, We kind of touched on this before. Obviously, we're always monitoring this. We acknowledge and recognize that we're above that state target of the 12.5%. We do this with careful review of new entrants in terms of making sure that we're looking at comparable services and reviewing those, monitoring our referrals to CSE. That is one of the main points for assistant directors to be attending those building level problem-solving meetings. That's where a building level CSE referral is typically generated. So having that assistant director as part of that process to really guide the team in terms of, the timing of a referral, what needs to be done prior to that happening, et cetera, is really important. And also, again, really focusing on that declassification piece. This is my 5th district, I think, and it's really an area I don't think any district does great, but with a renewed focus on that, we're hoping to just make great decisions for kids and make them as independent as possible. Stacy will be linking us back to LRE and our REACH commitments and the DSEP priority. So I'll kind of go over that. In terms of the social emotional learning and equitable outcomes, obviously we support all of the district work with regard to SEL. You can see that we have the functional behavioral assessment and behavior intervention plan facilitation teams. We provide district-wide behavior consultation to students and teams. And through the increase that we've had in building and program staff, we expect to have a positive impact on outcomes like chronic absenteeism, like those social emotional competencies like self-awareness and self-management. And, we're so lucky to be able to really have added so many different, mental health building staff and program staff. In terms of the New York State Performance Plan, as you saw in the report, we didn't have to report on anything last year, so that was a nice little break that we got. This year, we're going to be reporting on the percentage of preschool students with IEPs who demonstrate improved social emotional skills, acquisition and use of knowledge and skills, the use of appropriate behavior to meet their needs. So that's kind of our focus areas. It's not a lot of stuff to worry about. And now I'll turn it back over to Stacy to really kind of talk more about our overall department goals as part of the strategic plan.
All right, just finish up by kind of connecting back to some of our PPS department priorities and how they align with our REACH strategic plan. So I know you're all well-versed in the plan and know the commitments. But when we're looking at it, Ignite Learning, the work of the PPS department this year and really the vision is to work towards an increase in the number of students enrolled in self-contained classes at the elementary level. That's our first target group. Increasing the number of students who are integrated at any portion of the day. So we're not talking about maybe the typical integration for academics. It might be for a special area, PE. It might be for recess, lunch. It might be reverse integration where we have other students coming in. Any opportunity during the day to have kids integrated is our overall goal. I will say that we have some work to do as we're digging in and auditing IEPs and just looking at our baseline to move forward. We have work to do in really highlighting how each student might integrate. It's sort of general, and oftentimes challenges of scheduling impact that. So that's why we're starting at elementary, where we think there's a little less rigidity in schedules and staff sort of commitments, that we can start there, recognize barriers, and then work together to figure out how to increase that number to get to that end game. And finally, our aligned progress measures that are aligning with cultivating trust. Two things. The PPS department is working with SEPTA. So SEPTA is the Special Education Parent-Teacher Association, and they have been a group that has evolved over the years. We're probably on year 3 or 4. So we're really working together to create just a collaborative structure for families to develop relationships not only with each other but with the district, to really establish some transparency and honesty and communication so that they feel that they can come to us with any questions or concerns. We're committed to supporting our families. There are different guest speakers and things scheduled throughout the year. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to seek more families to join. And finally, as Mel stated, we're going to share our collaboration with GTA in development of that committee. We worked really hard a couple of years to identify our continuum and really what that might look like, but also in identifying different students that might fit into that continuum so that we understand our CSE placements and services available, but also that we work together to determine what procedures we need to put in place to support our students best. So that is it. What questions do you have for me, Mr. Maloney?
Questions, Mr. Maloney.
Sorry.
Is there a,
Sure, Stacy, you want to sit here?
Oopsie.
is it,
You're up, Mr. Maloney.
Thank you.
is there any way we as the board can get a handbook?
Special ed handbook?
Yeah.
It's not in print. It is that electronic link that we linked in. We could work together if you want us to talk about how we might get some of those forms in paper for you. We don't currently have that in paper because, like Mel said, they're live documents, so we consistently update them, and teams fill them out electronically too.
Oh, but I can reach them online then.
Yes, they're in the presentation. If you go back to this slide here, consistency, which I think might be a different number for you now, that it's right linked into the word consistency is the entire handbook.
Is that the page we don't have?
You should have it, it just
Yeah,
should
we
be
have
out of
it.
order,
It's just out of order.
but I'll get it to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Stacy.
Send the link really easily.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Sawicki?
So just a question on access to programs, right? And if there's a student and they're in one school and they need increased support, right? The building, right? Limited resources, can't have the same offerings everywhere. How, I guess two-part question. How often is that happening currently? And then what do we do to support that to ensure that the student can get access to it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we're really proud of the continuum, but it also impacts families a little bit and sometimes having to move a little bit. So we recently, past couple of years, established some procedures to put in place to support the transition. So how often does it happen? Not a lot for integrated programs, consultant teacher, resource, related services, and ICT. Those are pretty much, we can work together to figure out how we make that work in almost any homeschool. A couple of exceptions here and there we highlighted. It's a specialized program that becomes difficult. As you said, such a large district, we can't have all of those special class programs in every building. So when that happens and a student is recommended to transition from one building to another, 2 meetings happen. One, a CSE meeting happens at the sending school that makes the recommendation, and then in between that time, 2 weeks happens. In that time period, the receiving team visits in the school, the sending team visits the program with the family, and then a second CSE happens after 2 weeks with the receiving team to talk about any changes or modifications or questions that happened in those 2 weeks to prepare for that student to transition. So it's a fairly extensive process when it comes to specialized program, because we know students have significant needs if we're requesting them move from one building to another, which happens a lot less frequently with all the increased supports we have in every building. Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Bonagario?
Thank you. Our board president is extremely efficient, and he blew past me while I was slow on the draw to ask a question that came up earlier, but it comes up again here, so I'll take advantage of it. We earlier approved a behavior consultant position, and I'm guessing behavioral consultants aren't exclusively used in special education situations. And maybe I can get a little more input from the superintendent or anyone else. But can you describe how does a behavioral, I can't say it, a behavioral consultant work in these situations?
Sure. For our behavior programs, we have quite a few identified roles that are actually attached just to those programs. There are a couple of district-wide supports as well. So our behavior programs specifically have crisis interveners. Each building has. So those are your responders to crisis. They have other roles, but I'm just summarizing overall what their primary role is. Behavior specialists, those are employees that have been with the district for quite a long time. We didn't change that job title. It's been here for many years, and they support with behavior programs as well, and they are working to support implementation and facilitation of FBAs and BIPs. We have behavior analysts and behavior consultants. There's only 2 positions, one of each. One is assigned to our behavior feeder pattern, primary and elementary. So we have one assigned to those 2 buildings, and then we have another assigned to Arcadia Middle and Arcadia High. Those are specifically focused on our behavior programs and the students enrolled in those programs and their unique plans, which are fairly extensive. We have district behavior interventionists who are 2 employees working out of the PPS department who serve as consults. That's that kind of overarching service provider table I showed with all those different supports. They are able to participate in problem-solving meetings and grade level team meetings, and they come to our department meeting to hear about kids that our team would like support with and that building teams would like support with, and we deploy as appropriate across the district based on prioritized need. So those do service all students, special ed and gen ed.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Dr. Trawick.
Not a question, just a comment. So last week, I had an opportunity to visit Craig Hill Elementary, and I got to visit one of the 811 classrooms. And it was great until one of the students started to have a really bad day. And the principal, Brandon Jones, who was showing me around, took the student out, began to walk them through the hall. But here's what I noticed and why I'm bringing it up. Every adult that we passed intervened and said to that child, hey, buddy, looks like you're having a bad day. It's okay. It's okay. And I realized that even though you have your team here today, that it truly is everyone in the building. And so while that child was being attended to, there was another thing happening in one of the other classrooms, the 1211 classroom. So Mr. Jones had to, we dropped that child off at the front desk, and there was a counselor there. And then he had to race to another classroom, but not before he said, Dr. Trawick, I've got to cut this short. You got to go. And I watched this team of folks just converge on these children that were just having a meltdown, everyone from the front staff. So I just wanted to bring that up because I'm sitting here and I'm watching and I'm seeing the leaders, but they're also the people that are in the buildings, and they're in the trenches every day. And so as I was exiting the building, because I knew, like, you got to, he told me, you got to go. I'm sorry. The receptionist said, I said, wow, you guys, this is truly, you're truly a blessing to the children here. And the secretary said, yes, and please pray for the families that also have to deal with their children and how heavy it is on them. So I just want to say we appreciate you guys. When you expanded your department, I was ecstatic. And I'm just so happy to see the work and to have just witnessed it. It was just fresh in my mind because I was just there. And to see those students, the one student, I was actually able to see him calm down. And it was just beautiful, And I think sometimes you just got to tell those stories. I don't care how sappy they sound. At the end of the day, this is what we're here for. And when we talk about what students need, we have all kinds of needs, and you guys are meeting those needs, so kudos to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Dr. Trawick. I would say, too, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge Dr. Trawick's comment about the partnership. So when we started this sort of transition many, many years ago from a centralized process where I was a coordinator chairing over 500 meetings a year to supporting and building capacity of our teams, that was really under Superintendent Groutman's oversight, but also the principals who bust their butts to support our kids every day. So definitely we could not do it without them, but I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Any other questions? Mr. Bonagorio?
So take this in a very positive way. The answer that you gave me to my question had a lot of detail. I loved her answer. That shows me a lot more of what's going in. So tell those stories, because those are important. It doesn't come out of the all of the numbers and the names of the positions. and I'm dumb when it comes to that stuff. I need to hear, I need to hear those kinds of stories. So thank you, and thank you.
And I
appreciate
would,
it.
just add that, what you experienced at Craig Hill, Dr. Traywick, that is characteristic of essentially all of our buildings, and the way that they embrace their students with disabilities and the programs, and how badly they want to keep students in the building, do whatever it takes, think outside the box, support the students and their families. Those types of things are happening in every one of our buildings, and it really is a credit to the building leadership. It starts with the principal, an assistant principal, but then obviously the wonderful staff that, from the cafeteria staff, office staff, to the teaching staff, our support staff, that are really there to support our students and help them be successful every day.
Any other questions? Vice President Millar?
Mine's not a question, it's a thank you. I was going to say this in my board members' comments, but since you're all here, I had the opportunity to go to the Special Ed Parent-Teacher Association, and every one of these people were there. And I was so impressed with the fact that they were out in the evening, in the community, there for parents, and thank you for that. And to see faces and to be able to connect was wonderful for the parents, so thank you very much.
Thank you for being there. Appreciate it.
I just want to thank you guys for the presentation and the outline, and it was very informative. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. favor? Any opposed? That passes, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, 6-0. Moving on to 7.03, can I start to move the quarterly treasurer's report for extra classroom activities fund? Moved by Mr. Swicky, seconded by Dr. Trawick. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Moving on to 7.04, the Elm Grove Road real estate property, can I have somebody move that resolution to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes 6-0. Moving on to 8.01, the budget status report. Can I have somebody, that's written information only. So does anybody have any questions on that? Mrs. Flores.
Hi, I have a question for Romeo, if you could, please. In the budget status report, this particular meeting, I noticed in one particular category under technology, I was looking at the different funds and what we have encumbered versus unencumbered, and I noticed we're only a couple months into the school year, and for the technology grouping, we're down to a balance of $2, which really stuck out to me as being very different from the rest of these different groupings that have still quite a bit of money in there. So I was curious if this was something that was planned. I did notice that you made a comment about, in your budget presentation, about one-to-one technology. And I'm curious as to if we have already spent a certain amount of money and what happens if we need more money for technology this year. I'm assuming we would move funds in, but I'm curious why we're so low already.
Answer your second question first. If there was a need to move more funds into the technology department, we would most definitely go ahead and look for other areas in the budget and make the transfer. If it was over $50,000, which with $2 left would likely be, it would come here to the board for approval, so you would be fully aware of it. What's changed in technology from past years is the need to start spending money on a standard replacement plan for all the desktops, Chromebooks, and other technology that we've had. So we've been building for probably 4 or 5 years and using different funds, but now we've got to start thinking about, in conversation with the director, thinking about we have to start having those dollars within the operating budget as opposed to Smart Schools Bond or ARP. We need to start building it in. In past years, what you would have seen at this time of the year, September, October, tech would have a larger balance out there, but by the time we got to the spring, we would realize we may have some additional funds, and we would do what's called a request for additional services with BOCES, and we would encumber another $1 million or $1.2 million to purchase technology by the end of the year. What we've done here, which is a little bit of a change from previous years, we've done it in the beginning of the school year, knowing, rather than waiting until the end of the school year, do we have the funds? We've now encumbered it all so that we know those purchase orders are going to go through, those items are going to be bought. And it's probably going to end up in a slight adjustment to their original budget going into 23-24, so that they don't end up with $2 left in their account by September for next year. But we would take care of a transfer should we need it.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Very much so. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, moving on. Can I somebody move the consent agenda to the table, please? Moved by Mr. Maloney, second by Mr. Swicky. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the consent agenda? Ms. Flores?
This is just a comment. I was noticing in our general fund, and I would like to be able to thank whoever is responsible for this. We had revenue added for sale of scrap in our general fund. And in talking about the fiscal responsibilities of our district and that, I wanted to make a comment to say, I'm really glad to hear that our district is doing things like selling the scrap that we have instead of just throwing stuff away, and finding alternative ways to increase revenues and do things that are environmentally responsible also. So, thank you.
Any other comments on the consent agenda? I'm just going to thank the Greece Education Foundation. They made $16,261 worth of donations across the district for various items, and they're just a tremendous partner of ours, so I want to thank them. I want to thank the Arcadia High Extra Classroom Fund for their donation for the DJ for the homecoming dance, the same at Athena High, the New York State Insurance Reserve for the bus driver appreciation breakfast, and Toshiba America for the donation of $5,700 to Odyssey for the community garden. With that, all those in favor of the consent agenda? Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on to the course offering guide approval. Can I somebody move that to the table, please? Moved by Vice President Mueller, second by Ms. Flores. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the course offering guide? Mr. Bonnegorio.
Yeah, on page 16 of the presentation, I note that there is an event, well, it was presented earlier, but there's an event for Parents' Night on November 17th, and course selection is due January 20th, and I just think that's great, that, we have a lot of time for parents to be brought into the picture, and so we have had some situations where parents missed some important notifications. Are we going to do anything to make sure that they're aware so that they can take advantage of this? Because I think it's great that we're opening up this opportunity to them.
Well, we're working closely with the principals. Oh, sorry, thank you. We're working closely with the principals, and we'll be touching on it in our parent meeting. And as I said, we're hoping to have it videoed as well or live streamed so that parents who cannot make it can participate virtually as well.
But just the reach out to make them aware.
Absolutely, right. In our weekly newsletters, our principals send weekly communications, monthly communications. It'll be frequent and purposeful, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Dr. Trailer?
Just a comment. I just wanted to say how encouraged I was that we have more college, early dual enrollment college courses. And just wanted to just give a quick little story. So my son Amir is a senior, and he recently took his SATs, and he did not do well. He is not going to appreciate me telling his business.
Can't imagine why.
But his grades are stellar. He has great grades, but he just did not do well in the SAT. So, and he has wanted to go to these particular colleges, since he was in middle school, has had his sights set on certain schools. And what we learned in this process in talking to admissions counselors is because of the academic rigor that he has participated in, his dual enrollment courses, and the grades that he has achieved, that schools that still are looking at testing, because there are a few that are looking at SAT scores, most are, test optional, but the ones that will look at those SATs, the fact that he has taken these dual enrollment courses, the academic rigor is the term that they used, and done well, is going to surpass whatever he did on the SAT. When I tell you that our hearts went from sinking to back up filled with joy, that him taking all those courses, sacrificing in the summer and, balancing and, doing all that hard work, it was so worth it for him. And I want to report that he applied early admission just last night. Just last night, guys, he pressed that button. Okay, sorry. But thank you. I'm so glad that we're offering more and more students will be able to take advantage of that. So kudos. Yep.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Bonnegorio?
So I have a question regarding the seal of civic readiness and how broadly that might be, some of the information in that. I am aware from a recent New York School Board Association conference that some of the things that New York requires for our schools to teach are things like patriotism, civic education, values, shared history of diversity, religious tolerance, human rights issues, civility, citizenship, and values including instructions that support the development of a school environment free of harassment, bullying, and discrimination, respect for the American flag, its display and use. those are all coded in the law. I imagine those kinds of things are incorporated in the seal of civic readiness, but are they also spread throughout our curriculum, our programs, and at what levels? I mean, are they limited to certain areas, or do all of our students share in those things?
Well, that's part of the general social studies curriculum that begins in kindergarten and moves along. Again, developmentally, students can understand different things at different times, like the amendment process is really complicated, so you don't see a lot of that in the younger grades. Students have a hard time understanding that. But again, it's about teaching students to be good human beings. That's civic readiness, to be involved in your community, to know what's going on, to know that your opinion matters, to participate, to vote. That is woven throughout and part of the seal of civic readiness for sure. But there's the general course components that go along with that. But within the seal, the students have to do projects where they exhibit that necessary civic readiness, again, to be an active participant in the government of your area.
Any other board member questions?
Can you just follow up on it?
Sure.
So it goes beyond just being a good human being, right? This is supporting our constitutional republic as well, and that's, just for clarification, that, I assume, you talk about the flag when you're in kindergarten, things like that, and as you get older, you're understanding the Constitution. It's not just limited to those students who pursue that seal of civic readiness.
Absolutely. We teach the Constitution in Greece. We do.
Okay. I think I got the gist of that. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, with that, all those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 8-0. Moving on to board member comments. Are there any board member comments this evening? Mr. Bonagorio.
Thank you. Got a few different things that I want to just bring attention to. One, as the liaison to Athena Middle School, I want to say I was really proud to see the Athena students and the middle and high school students. I think they did an awesome job. Really liked how they were incorporating things with the Leader in Me program that they have going on there with the 7 habits of a successful student. I loved how those high school students paid tribute to Bill Maloney over there for his service to our country, and how they also called out in a really good way Sharita's kids that she's so proud of. I'm so glad of that. Had the pleasure of seeing the Charlie Brown musical over the weekend. That was really cool. The show, the preview that we got of it here really spurred me along to make sure I got to that. Saw Terry there as well. Just had a great time with that. So kudos to our students for all of that. I do want to raise a concern about code of conduct issues. I know we're going to have discussion about that, a deep dive at our board retreat in December. Throughout the COVID period, we had literally daily reports on what was going on, counts of the percentages of people infected and things like that. It was a top priority to get communication out at every level, right? We're seeing reduced incidences of code of conduct infractions, but still really significant events. I know we're having this discussion at the board retreat. That's going to be a private discussion. I think that this is something that really needs to have some more public attention. One of our speakers tonight commented about things that we, the board, didn't know. I was very surprised at a recent Monroe County School Boards Association meeting in chatting with other school board members from other districts to hear how frequently they were given information. And I mentioned that, yes, I had heard through the grapevine one of these incidents of a teacher being assaulted and the student being arrested, and they were shocked that that wasn't communicated. So I think certainly the board needs more timely information on that kind of thing. I thank the president for clarifying the information presented by the speaker tonight. Can't say that I'm excited to hear that the student, and I don't know the particulars of the situation, but I do know there are many situations where incidents like she described arise where a student is not suspended. And I've heard numerous times from numerous teachers about situations where a student threatens, literally threatens a teacher, goes to the principal's office and walks away with a cupcake or something. So I think these are important issues that really need to come to the fore in a public way. I'm glad we're going to be digging into that. So thank you.
Board member comments? Mr. Maloney?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was away on vacation for a couple of weeks. I enjoyed myself immensely, by the way. But I missed Board Appreciation Night, which is one of my favorite nights. So when I got home, in my garage was all these presents from all these schools, and with notes and things that just lifted me up from being tired. I sat and read every one of them that night. And I just want to thank all the schools, and especially the 4 high schools, Autumn Lane, Buckman Heights, and I really appreciated it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. Ms. Flores?
I had the privilege this past week of going to a committee meeting for our parent engagement and community schools group. I continue to just be really excited about this program, and every time I talk to one of our parent engagement coordinators, anybody that is related to community schools, I learn more and more about the capabilities of community schools and the wide array of things that our parents and families are coming to us that need help. So I am just really excited about community schools and the things that we are capable of doing for our families. We have a lot of things coming up, and they talked about a range of things from after-school clubs to piloting transportation through K through 2, the Neighborhood Navigation Center, where they are able to assist families with, in a direct way through, you can even dial 211. There's a My Wayfinder website that you're able to go on that has a ton of resources. Each of the parent coordinators or each of the, I'm saying the wrong title, but each of the coordinators from each of the schools where community schools is placed went over the different things that they're doing within their school and within their community. And I want to go back to a comment that Dr. Troywick made at one of our previous meetings is our district is changing. And we really need to take a look at these types of things, and we need to embrace them. And we need to be able to go out and understand and share with the families that we have and share the resources that we have. So if you don't know anything about community schools, I encourage you to find out what you can about it and share it with your neighbors, share it with the other kids' parents, because there's still a lot of people that I talk to that say, what's community schools? I have no idea. So considering the resources that we have with this, I would shout loud and clear, community schools, learn what you can, and definitely embrace all of the things that come with that. So I also want to give a shout out to EV. I'll be going to their movie night this coming Friday. And I also had the privilege of seeing the musical Charlie Brown at Arcadia. The students did a really great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing the future musicals that we have in our district. So thank you to everybody who is participating in the type of work that we do, like community schools, like the special education programs, that we share the resources that we have available in this district, where so many times we are able to say we have resources well above a lot of the other districts in our area. I'm really, really proud to be in Greece.
Thanks, Ms. Flores. Any other board member comments? Ms. Farah?
Hello. Okay, just wanted to let you guys know, tomorrow night, the PTA for Long Ridge is going to take place. We went from one person last year, one parent, and we went to 30. That is a huge, huge accomplishment. So kudos to Long Ridge for making this happen. Another school that's also having their PTSA is going to be at Olympia tomorrow night. We are still looking for parents, teachers, students, everyone to participate. We're a little small on that, but I know we can grow that one. Dr. Henley stole my thunder regarding the Lakeshore Superheroes. I got the honor of doing that. If you're ever having a bad day, just go to an elementary school. You will forget every worry possible. The program that they're doing with the superheroes, it's a monthly program that they're doing. Each teacher is recognizing one student to do something, whatever it may be. There was many different scenarios. So I think that that's really good. They're striving to get every single kid up there and doing the work, and the other students are trying to get those students that haven't got up there too, to give them a little push in the right direction. It was nice to also see the parents that came out for these kids. I know a lot of parents have to work during the day, and they can't always get the day off, but these little itty-bitty things that, and programs and awards that they're getting mean so much to these little kids. They had such big smiles on their faces. So I can't wait to see this November coming forward. Other than that, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Swicki.
So just two items, right? One, I was going to say the Communications Committee. I wanted to thank Dr. Payne and Mr. Fleming out in the crowd, right? We've convened a small group just to talk about the way I think the district and schools communicate with all stakeholders, right? And what should that look like? What should that feel like? And potentially how we can drive some more consistency for that experience across all the different buildings. Well, I think we've all talked about different, I'll say, ways in which we've been communicated. There's so many different modes, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, or you got the school page, and then there's an online link over here, and then here's a paper flyer, right? And that can lead to frustration and perhaps disengagement from parents, families, and the like, right? And so they miss that one note and then miss that, info meeting or whatever the case is. So I think just developing that framework is such an important step, so I really appreciate that partnership and that work there from that committee, and look forward to maybe we can bring something back here once we settle on something. Second piece, I guess it's 2 weeks now ago, but the Grease Marching Band, the night here in town was pretty awesome, right? I don't know if anyone had a chance to go, but I had a great time. My kids had a great time, and it was great to be under the lights, and that band just, they're awesome, right? And so much work and effort goes into that, right? I actually, my kids aren't maybe as diehard as Dr. Treywick's, but we went to the info meeting and we learned about it, and I was like, I don't know. This is quite the commitment. But they really do put in the time and effort, and it definitely showed on the field there, here, certainly at home, and then on the road when they took their act to Syracuse with a really strong second place finish. I'm sure they're going to do even better things as the year progresses here. So great night. If you haven't had a chance to go see the band in action, I'd say get out there. It's a good time. So thank you.
Any other board member? Dr. Treywick.
So John alluded to my comment. However, so I was recently asked by someone who is considering Greece, moving their family to Greece, what has your experience been in Greece? What's your experience like, meaning my children? And my answer I wanted to share with you all tonight is my children are having the experience that I am creating for them. The schools don't create their experience. The teachers don't create their experience. It is the parent. Every opportunity that I feel that there should be theirs, I go for it. I run after it for them. And when I can't be the one to advocate for them, I find language to empower them to advocate for themselves. When my daughter entered this district, she had social anxiety. She was shy. She's still shy. She didn't really want to talk, didn't have friends. I worried about her. But then she joined GMB, the Grease Marching Band. Someone suggested it, her love for music, and I thought, she'll never come out of her shell. And if you see her now perform on the field, and then last year I got to see her at their first banquet, and she danced in front. She led a line dance. I didn't know whose child that was. But she developed friendships and relationships That's why go hard for GMB. But aside from that, not to make it all about my children, but I just want parents to know that, everything is not going to be great, but it will be as good as you put the energy into advocating for your children. And there have been areas where it hasn't been great. There are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about. My family probably won't be the family that will go to community schools because they need food or they need clothing. But I might show up because I need to know how to advocate for my child that might be slipping behind in their grades, which I've shared. Or I might be the parent that needs to know how to advocate because my son is sitting the bench and he's coming home because he's upset because he didn't play. And I want to go after the coach, but I know that that's not the correct thing to do. So I reach out to my school community and I ask for help. I ask for help. Because we're only as good as as long as we utilize each other. There are going to be things that aren't going to be great, but we have to be committed to making them great. I ran for the board because I wanted to make it better. That's it. If I don't win re-election, it's fine. I've done my time. I've said what I needed to say, and it'll be someone else's time. But we're in this together, so we can blow holes through the ship and hope it sinks, or we can plug those holes so our kids can sail on to the next place. That's it.
Thanks, Dr. Traywick. Vice President Moore.
Yes, want to get back to special ed PTA. Obviously, I thank our staff that was there, but it was great to see parents out there, and I encourage any parent whose child is labeled to get in a group like this where you have some camaraderie. My son in first grade diagnosed with dyslexia, and we thought the minute he had the label, we were set to go, and battled for 11 years. And I sat there thinking, I wish I had parent support when I was going through it. So parents with special ed students, take advantage of this great organization. I want to thank people who've supported our jazz station. We just had another fundraiser and did very well, and longest-running jazz station in the United States, and I'm proud to have them here in our community. Fall sports, I want to congratulate all the athletes. What a wonderful season, and got to go to a lot of games, but the highlight for me, which will be a Board of Education thing, I was at a soccer game at Olympia, and they turned on the lights, and everyone gasped. And I go, we finally have lights on Fields of Greece. So yes, I'm very excited about that. And thank you to all the teachers who started this school year and doing a great job. I'm hearing great things from the classroom, so thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Moore. I have a couple things. I'm going to follow up. It's amazing what our fall athletes have done. A few of our teams are still competing in sectionals. The next time we meet, winter athlete, it can still be in full bloom. I want to make a comment quick. I know several of my colleagues made comments about Charlie Brown and Willy Wonka. I've heard an amazing amount of feedback over the last several days about both of those programs and how wonderful they were. So I want to thank everybody for that. I can't be as eloquent as Dr. Traywick or Mr. Swicky when it comes to the marching band, but I do want to say that I attended that event as well, and it was absolutely amazing. For a program that started from nothing, and to see where it is today, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Clickio because that was kind of her thing, and she's really brought it an amazing distance. After the first couple of years, I figured it was going to end up on a cutting room floor, and to see what that program is today is thoroughly amazing. So I just want to give a shout out to all the people, the parents, the kids. It was truly amazing to watch, and it was a great night. I look forward, as Mr. Bonagorio said, regarding the code of conduct. I'm looking forward to our retreat, some discussion around the code of conduct, some information that we're going to share as a board and learn as a board. So that should be a great opportunity for all of us. I also want to thank TOPS on Mount Reed. They had their grand opening today. Superintendent Groutman, myself, and Kelly Sperduto from Community Schools were there, and we received $1,000 in gift cards from TOPS that'll go to community schools, which is awesome. And we also made some connections with the fire department. It's going to help out with some community school stuff. and hopefully the Greece Police Uniform Patrolmen's Association want to get involved in some community school stuff. So we're super excited about that. And again, Veterans Day, I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Maloney. I want to thank all our veterans that work in the school district and in our community for the service they gave to this country. It's a tremendous sacrifice on them and their families, and I just want to thank them. And Thanksgiving is fast approaching. We won't have another board meeting before Thanksgiving. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time for family. It's a great time to help others. So I want everybody to take a little bit of time. And on a personal note for me, this will be the first time my 2 kids have been home for Thanksgiving in 6 years. So I'm kind of excited about that, to have both of them. We've had one or the other, but not both of them. So I'm super excited about that. With that, Superintendent Groutman.
Yes, I have a couple things too. First, it is November 1st, which always makes me think about Thanksgiving, and always just sort of makes me pause because having been in education my whole life, it is just a month to sort of pause. Everybody's in, things are running, things are humming. One thing that I'm going to frame everything that I talk about tonight around gratitude and being grateful. You all know, many of you know that my mom passed away a few weeks ago, and one thing that I have said over and over again as I've worked in Greece and lived here is just that Greece is big, but my hope, whether that be as a principal, whether that be as an assistant superintendent, any role, is that while we're big, I want it to feel small. When people came into my school when I was a principal, I wanted them to feel like they were walking into my home. And so to go through losing a parent and to feel the just overwhelming love and support from the people here in this community has just really warmed my heart. And that is true, meaning like I've gotten hundreds of cards from teachers, from secretaries, from TAs, from administrators, from community members, from community organizations. It's just been really, really lovely. And my mom was, that was her favorite holiday, so it just is fitting. My mom also believed in 9 hugs a day, so thank you, Sharita, on your way in. I've gotten a few of those, and certainly met my quota recently. But that means a lot in terms of just overall culture within this district. Along with that, I guess I would just give some shout outs. Much of what I had written down to share has already been said, but I do want to show my gratitude towards all the people that are supporting kids. The thing that's most important for our students is that they feel connected. And that might be through marching band, that might be through sports, that might be through our musicals. And you just heard all of them listed out. But these are really deliberate, active ways that we're trying to get kids to be connected. And they don't need to be the best at everything, but they do need to be connected. So all of those things that were mentioned, I certainly appreciate all the work that goes into the organization and so on. We do have the Arcadia girls volleyball team who won tonight. I got a text about that, so they will be in the finals coming up, and many other teams that were very successful throughout the year. Lastly, there's two more things. One is I also wanted to just give some thanks to the people that have been involved with the Code of Conduct and specifically around the work related to peer accountability. Our Teen Core, or Peer Accountability Board, has actually met and is up and running. So I look forward to hearing more about that and hearing more about some of the results and outcomes. I, again, would caution people with stories. So as much as Code of Conduct is a very interesting topic for people and everybody's interested in behavior, my point there is I would just be very cautious because with social media, with interpretation, there's a lot of things that get said that are untrue. So I just want to make sure that, stories move fast. It's really impossible to keep up with things that are said, things that are posted, and it can be really, really dangerous. I think I do look forward to studying, but I also want to recognize that there's things happening all the time in our communities, in school and out of school, that people don't really know the whole story to. So that will be interesting, and I'm sure will be a really good use of time. I want to say thank you to the PTAs because there's been a ton of events. A lot of the other ways people connect and families connect is through our PTA events. Little moments like high fives with guys over at the ELC. There's so many of those events that are happening on a regular basis in ways that are just trying to bring families into our schools and build trust and really sort of work on that idea of that second tenet of the strategic plan. And lastly, I would just say, I want to point out Veterans Day is coming up. So we have Bill Maloney, who was given a shout out earlier today by our students, which I appreciate. But we have a lot of veterans in our community, and I know our schools work really hard to find unique ways in each of the school communities to recognize folks on that day. So thank you to Bill, and thank you to our other veterans within our community. And with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, and looking forward to our continued work.
Mr. Maloney?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting, please.
All right. Ms. Flores with the second. I'm assuming there's no objection, so all those in favor? That passes 8-0. Thank you, everyone. See you next month.